Welcome to Igniting Inspired Inquiry, a space for real conversations with incredible humans. I'm your host, Jay, and I'm here to open the door to reflection, resonance, and revelation. If you have a moment to like, share, subscribe, or review, I would deeply appreciate you sharing the love. This is a space for truth, trust, and the kind of insight that comes from simply being human. Thank you for being here. Let's begin. I get to meet a lovely human who's on the other side of the world. And I'm really excited to hear more about who you are, about what your mission is and your book. And I'm really honored to have you here. I want to give you the space to share a little more about who you are. So I welcome you, Stephen, to Igniting Inspired Inquiry. And I'm going to hand it over to you to share with us, those who are watching or listening, who is Stephen?
All right. Well, to be fair, I'm still figuring that out, but I've got a lot. I'm getting a lot
Are we
closer.
all?
Oh, we are. You know what? I say that in life, it's all about, life is a set of experiences that are designed by you to help you remember who you really are, right? And it's a journey, but it's a fun journey. It's an exciting journey. Sometimes it's painful in the growth, right? But in the end, like I say to people, it's not going to be easy, but it'll be worth it, right? So who am I? Okay, so I mean, I could recite a lot of things that I do, but that's not who I am, right? They are just things that I can do, right? Who am I? I am a passionate, intense person who is committed to growth, spiritually, physically, emotionally, financially, sometimes. Um, and I feel like my purpose, you decide your own purpose. It can be anything you want, right? So my purpose is to help people through my experiences, not have to go through the pain that I've been through, the drama that I've been through, and get there faster, which I think is our obligation when we go through these things, to help people not have to go through everything we had to go through to get there, so they can get there and continue to grow from there. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but
It
that's
makes
about it.
complete sense. That's it. That's exactly why I do what I do, is to help people learn from the experiences and the things I've endured, and maybe like their make their path a little easier than than mine was.
Yeah, well, I worked with Tony Robbins for quite some time, and I learned a lot from him, obviously, profound teachings. But one of the things that he always used to say that the secret to living is giving.
Mm,
And I believe that, right? And there's
yeah,
nothing that will fulfill you more than giving. It's in our
so
nature.
true.
Following our
Hmm.
nature. It's in our nature. I say it's in our nature to give and to help. And people go, you haven't driven to work with me on the morning on I-95, right? Nobody's giving to anybody, right? It's a nightmare. But yeah, but in our essence, unfortunately, life can cause us to leave our nature. And
Hmm.
society can cause us to leave our nature. In fact, most people never go into nature, right? And that's who
Mm,
we are. It's who we are, right? So that makes it easier to forget who we are, right?
agreed.
So we've got to
Yeah.
remember, right? To get
Mm,
ourselves in nature, to touch the ground, to touch the sand, to touch the ocean, maybe touch each other. I don't know.
yeah.
But anyway, all those things are an important part of us being who we really are and reconnecting to that.
Yeah, I agree. You're speaking my language.
Yeah. I know. I listen to your podcast.
Ah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So now we get to roll into the first question, which the common thread, and I love how different the answers that come through. So I'm excited,
Yeah.
as always. What's one moment, belief, or experience that changed the way you see the world?
Yeah. Great question. So I can
Mm.
tell you right away because I talk about it all the time. This had a profound, I've had a lot of profound experiences, but this question, this belief has helped me through trauma, incredible trauma, pain, what would have been long-term suffering. So it sounds very simple, as amazing things usually do, right? But it's got a lot of layers to it. So I'll tell you what the belief is: that nothing happens to you, everything happens for you. Now, it's easy to say it, simple thing to say. It's a whole different thing to live that, right? It's
Great.
not just when things are going great. Oh, yeah, everything's happening to me for me right now. But when you're in the deepest, most difficult, tragic moments of your life, And I know some of your listeners and viewers have been through terrible trauma that if I just said to them, hey, it happened for you, they'd probably kill me, right? Because they were like, wait a minute,
Hmm.
you don't understand, when I went through this or I went through that and it was terrible, and it was abusive and all those things. Yes, but there is a silver lining. I guarantee it if you're committed to looking for it. Because what's the alternative? You're going to stay a victim for the rest of your life. And where is that going to take you? How is that going to make you feel? What's that going to create in your life? And the only person who feels that way is you. If there was a perpetrator, they're not experiencing that. You are. So what if we don't agree that that was a good thing for them to do, but we have to take responsibility for drawing that into our life? And if we take responsibility and accountability, we can find the gift. And there is always a gift. But sometimes it stays uncovered or covered because we're committed to being a victim and consistently saying, they did this to me, right? And you're not going to get anywhere from that. So it's a lot to take on, but can I give you an example? Have we got time for me to give you an example?
Absolutely.
All right. So this book is about this tumultuous, crazy, what most people would call a toxic relationship between me and an amazing woman. And she is an amazing woman. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't want to go through it again, but I learned more in this relationship. And you've heard of some of the people I've worked with, and they had a profound impact on my life. But this woman changed my life forever, right? And people read the book and go, "What?" But anyway, so we had a lot of disagreements. Let's just call them disagreements, right? And we would get into crazy situations. So at this point, uh, I traveled all the time. I travel 4 days a week, right? Speaking around the world. And she's at home, and we've fallen out, and she's gone. I don't even know where she is. So when I leave to go on my trip, of course, I lock up the house, right? So she knows I'm leaving on that day. So she comes over, tries to get in the house, can't get in. So she breaks in, right? And the alarm goes off. So it's like it's late at night. So the police are coming out really hot, squad cars, SUVs, police dogs running through people's gardens. It's, oh my God, and this is a nice, quiet neighborhood, right? So this is all going on.
Wow.
So now, this isn't the first time the police have been out to our house by any stretch of the imagination, right? So they already know us, right? And they know we're crazy, right? So they call me. They got my number on speed dial. So anyway, they call me. I'm kidding about the speed dial, but anyway, they call me.
You'll never know.
They call me and they say, this is what's going on. And I said, look, under no circumstances, let her in that house because I knew she was going to wreck it, right? So they say, well, we'll call you back. So they call me back and they say, listen, we know you guys are together. We've been out here a bunch of times, right? So we talked to the chief of police, the chief sheriff, and he said we should let her in. I'm like, no, right? So now I'm away for another 3 days. So I get home and I'm going in with trepidation. You know what I mean? What has she done, right? So when I first look around, it looks like everything's okay. Wow, that's amazing. Maybe she's turned a new leaf, right? So I go in the kitchen and I go and put on the kettle, as we English people do. And anything's going wrong, we have a cup of tea. So I leave the kitchen, come back. Kettle's not working. Hasn't boiled. So I look around the back of the kettle. She's cut the wire. Now I know instantly
Oof.
that is not the only wire she has cut, right? So I
Mm.
check all the electrical appliances in the house, all the TVs, all wires are cut. Everything, right? And I also know immediately that's not all she's going to have done. That's just the beginning, right? So when I was a kid, a little bit of backstory. When I was a kid, my mother used to send me to school in school clothes that were 10 times deep. I could still fit in some of them today. That's how crazy it was, right? And when I had to complain, my mama said, oh, you'll grow into them. But of course, when you look stupid, people treat you like you're stupid. And so the kids were, they're relentless, right? Humiliation. Even the teachers would humiliate me. But the point I'm saying, the reason I'm telling you this is because the time I was 9 years old, I was buying my own school clothes, right? Doing things, jobs, whatever, so I could wear clothes that I didn't get laughed at. So that trauma had lasting effect in my life. I always wanted to look immaculate, right? I always wanted to have the latest fashion, all this stuff. So I was into clothes, right? So at this time that this is happening, I'm making millions of dollars a year, right? So you can imagine my wardrobe is off the chain, right? Or off the charts, whatever, right? So of course the next thing I do, I gotta go the closet, right? So I go to the closet, walk in, looks like everything's okay again, right? So then I pull the clothes back. She's cut them all, right? Everything, right? Everything in that wardrobe has been cut in strategic places you just couldn't use
Oh
them.
my gosh.
And then all my shoes have been cut at the corner. I can't wear anything, right? Now, I'm not going to tell you right now that I just suddenly said in that moment, well, this has happened for me. That's
And
just not realistic. I'm human, right? So
that's it.
I was so mad, right? I was angry. I was so angry, frustrated. I never wanted to hurt her, but I wanted to kill her.
Mm.
So this goes on for like 24 hours, right? So finally, when I've let all this anger out, which, it's good to let anger out. It's a valid emotion. It's when you push it
Hmm.
down, there's a problem. So
Agreed.
I started to calm down. And so I sit in the armchair, I'm looking out of the window at the lake. And then I go, okay, all right, this happened for me. This is going to be good. How has this happened for me? But I'm asking the question, right?
Hmm.
So the first layer of it, the first layer of it was this, right? So I said to myself, well, it's only clothes. And
Mm.
then I go, but they were really nice clothes, right? So then I had to keep going, right? And what I realized, this was a profound change in my life. I said, attachment.
Hmm.
I was attached to those clothes since I was 9 years old. They
Yeah, it's
became
huge.
my identity. They became who I was, right?
Hmm.
Now, that was still just the beginning. Then I had to go deeper and figure out what else am I attached to. And in the end, I let go of everything, everything, the house, the cars, the money, everything, right? Now, you talk about a powerful belief, right?
Hmm.
But I didn't go from that happening right to that. It was a process. Does that make sense? But,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah.
once you're committed to that belief, you can never be a victim again.
Hmm.
And that gives you a freedom. I don't even know how to get that.
Yeah.
So she gave that to me. She gave that experience to me.
Hmm.
She made that sacrifice as a soul, as a spirit, because as you know, we're not humans having a spiritual experience, we're spirits having a human experience. And
Yeah.
all those experiences are designed, they're not an accident. There's no coincidence. She came into my life because I drew her into my life because of my vibration, right? What do you want to call it?
Hmm. Hmm.
And she came into my life for me to help me see these things. And there were so many other things. But what she gave me above and beyond that, Jay, was my freedom
Hmm. Yeah.
because she was showing me who I wanted to be, my authentic self. She didn't care what people thought about her, right? She was like, and she would say to me, look, if I would say anything about it, she would say, look, this is who I am. Take it or leave it, right? And I thought, and I admired that about her. So people say, what
Mm.
drew you to her? Well, obviously she was beautiful physically, but more than that was her persona. More than that, she was incredibly intelligent, right? And so I was drawn to those things because I realized I'd pushed down who I really am.
Hmm.
So that, because here's the thing, we all have greatness within us, right? We've all been given gifts, right? But as I have done, and many people do, we don't own them. We want to be
Agreed.
humble and we want to say,
Hmm.
oh, no, not me. I'm not worth it. So you're not worth it, right? So she taught me how to take ownership of the greatness in me so I could
Yeah.
help other people experience or take ownership of the greatness in them, right?
Hmm.
But what she also gave me was a freedom I'd never had before because throughout my life, I'd had experiences, which I write about in the book. I share them all in the book, or most of them, right?
Yeah.
Humiliating, right? Crazy. I was in an insane asylum at 16, right? I had electric
Wow.
shock treatment. I had
Yeah.
crazy things that happened to me, but they're all part of my story, right?
Hmm.
They've all made me who I am. But for the longest
Exactly.
time, I was ashamed of it.
Yeah.
When I grew up, if you had mental illness, you were outcast, right?
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
wanted to be near you, that kind of thing. So I hid it all my life. You know, if you, when I went for a job and it was say, have you ever had mental illness? Well, they're asking for a reason. You know, if you say
Hmm.
yes, yeah, you're getting the job, right? So I
Yeah.
had to hide it. I had to, you know, when I was in relationships, you know, you don't want to start, you don't want to go on a date with a girl and say, hey, listen, I've got this mental illness, right? Because
Mm.
that's the last time you'll see them. And so you're worried, is are they ever going to find out?
Yeah.
My
But then
friends are
you're
going to,
also,
you know
and
what I
then you're
mean? And so
also feeling inauthentic within yourself, right? And you're starting to
exactly.
disconnect even more.
Exactly. So by
Mm.
bringing it all out, which she helped me to do,
Hmm.
I'm not afraid of that anymore.
That's
I mean,
beautiful.
especially now I've written it like in a book,
Yeah.
right?
You shared
Everybody's
it with
gonna,
everybody.
yeah, right. So like, what can you say about me that I haven't said about myself, right?
That's right.
And so
Yeah.
now I have no fear of that anymore. So I can
Mm.
be more of my authentic self, right? I'm not
Absolutely.
hiding behind anything. I'm not hiding behind having things, cars, clothes, money,
Mm.
or any of those things, you know? And what
Yeah.
I realized about all those things in the material world, Jay, is they're a trap. They're
Hmm.
just, and they're called possessions for a reason because they
Yeah.
possess you, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
take
So true.
energy away from you. You got to give up energy to get them. You've got
Hmm.
to give up energy to maintain them. And you got to give up energy to get the next thing you got to have. And it's never
Yes.
ending, right? And
Agreed.
then, you know, kind of going on a little bit, but anyway, you know, the big one of the biggest traps we have as people, and society teaches this, right? So men think they have to be materially and financially well off to attract the woman they want.
Mm.
Women feel like they've got to be this beautiful woman to attract the man that's got the money to them, right? But it's a trap because if, as the man, you attract the beautiful woman because you've got money, wealth, and material things, well, what happens if you don't have them?
Yeah.
Or what happens if she meets a guy that's got more of that than you do?
Hmm.
She's afraid of what's going to happen if my beauty disappears.
Mm.
What happens if he wants a younger woman?
Yeah.
If he's only really with me because I'm beautiful, that's going to fade.
Well,
And
it's
so
so superficial too, isn't it?
superficial, yeah.
And missing the deeper magic of like actual connection and bond and all the beautiful things that a relationship are. It's such a beautiful thing for you to share, especially around the, and I've experienced this too, is stepping away from the material value of things and really just coming back into the internal value and the value of self. And it's interesting having that conversation. I like this morning and then yesterday about, it's happening for you, which is, as you said, a really hard pill to swallow.
It is for
but
sure.
but when you really look at life that way, then and to me, because people, and I had this conversation, someone said to me about surrender. I'm like, oh, surrender is like, well, that just means you just kind of sit around and wait for things to happen. I said, no, I disagree. To me, surrender is is trusting that it's happening for you
Yeah,
and
yeah,
going with it.
yeah. It's so true. I mean, I
Do you
can give
feel
you an
that way?
example for sure. I give you an example from what day is it today? Wednesday? 2 days
Mm,
ago. 2 days ago.
mm,
So you know where our economy is being affected, as everybody's is, by what's going
mm.
on, the wars and everything, right? So I have a speaking contract with a company that are experiencing financial difficulty. So they had to
Yeah.
cut back, right? And so they cut back on my contract,
Mm,
50% of my income.
yeah, right.
So, so a couple of things. So I go, okay, okay, this is happening for me, right?
Hmm.
Let's find it, right? Well,
Yep.
first of all, I thought, well, hang on a second. When did I decide not to do this anymore? Because I chose this, right? I created this. When did I decide I didn't want to do it anymore? And then I'm remembering that I'd been thinking, I really don't want to go on that event. I really don't want to be flying right now. And the flight is,
Hmm.
I'd been saying I didn't want to do it. So you say, be careful what
Yeah.
you ask for, right? So
Yeah.
I asked for it, right?
Ask and
Okay,
you
so
shall receive.
there you go, right? It's true, right? And that's
Yep.
why, I tell people, listen, you're creating it all. Whether you
Hmm.
realize it or not, you are creating all of it. And once you can take
Hmm.
ownership of that, like you said, right, you can start to see it, right? And then I
Yep.
started thinking about, well, what are we doing right now that we don't need to do?
Mm.
where's the superfluous things that we're doing, and let them go. We don't need them, right? So I've had everybody
Hmm.
do a what did you call it? A radical inventory, right? And there's so many things that we didn't need, right? And
Agreed.
wasn't using, right? So we
Yeah.
streamlined everything, and that's going to lead to other things. I'm not going to get into too the nitty gritty, but I'm happy it happened now.
Yeah.
Whereas if I hadn't got that belief, I'd be like, oh, why did this happen to me? This
Yep.
sucks. You know,
Hmm.
same thing with the clothes, right? I would have still
Hmm.
been mad at her to this day if I hadn't have made those distinctions, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So true. What I also hear about, and it's an example of that that's quite happens quite a lot in people's lives is when someone who is in your life does something that's just like that's the icing on the cake. Like it's they've actually been this way for a long time, and then they do something and it's just like, oh. And instead of the happening to me, we get caught up in like, oh, why did they do that and all of that sort of thing. And it's like, well, actually, they're doing you a favor because this is someone that needs to move out of your life. So it's happening
Yeah.
for you. But we can often get caught up in, well, but I need to, everybody needs to like me and this all needs to go well. And da, 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 da. It's like, how about you step out of that and understand what's happening for you?
Yeah. And so for me, having that belief has changed my life. Like you said,
Hmm.
one, it's a simple belief. Sometimes it's the simplest things that are most powerful, right?
Yeah,
Most.
I
So
agree.
it's a very simple belief, but like you just said, it's not that easy to live.
Mm,
It's not that easy to take ownership
practice.
because we live in a society that wants us to be victims.
Mm.
They
And
don't
to be
want us to be.
perfect and all the other things. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And so one of the things I wanted people to get out of the book is, look, it's all perfect.
Hmm.
You're creating it. And you don't have a relationship problem. You have a pattern problem. And
Mm.
you develop that pattern and probably others when you're a child. You ain't even aware of it. They've actually been able to show now that when we're born into an environment, right?
Hmm.
We can't speak, we can't walk, but we're born into an environment of sound. And the sound that is around you when you're a baby is the sound that you are always going to feel comfortable in.
Mm.
So if you're born into an environment where people are arguing and shouting, that's your comfort.
Yeah, until
That's
you
where you
shift
get
it.
comfort because that's your home, right?
Hmm.
That's where you were when you were first born. And that's why, so many women and parents today recognize that we've got to be putting the right energy into the womb before the
Yes.
baby's even born, right? Putting on
Yes.
maybe classical music, whatever it is, right? But
Yeah.
creating a beautiful environment for the baby, and then it's born into another beautiful environment. It's so important. And I mean, who
Mm.
knew? I mean, who knew? I mean, my parents didn't know that when I was born,
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
They were, they were
That's
playing
it.
heavy metal. I'm just
Mm.
kidding. They weren't playing that.
Okay. Well, I want to move us into question two now. I've got another question for you, one that you don't know.
Oh,
And I'm sure you've thought about this. You've probably spoken on it too. But this question that I have for you, I'm wondering, like, when was the moment that you knew that you wanted to write about your life? When was the moment that you knew that this message that you had, these experiences that you'd been through, this growth that you'd embraced, needed to be in a book?
mm. Yeah. Well, I would say I don't remember a particular moment, right?
Okay.
What I would say is, what I remember is, and this is right after all this happened. I'm going, that is an amazing story, right? That was an
Hmm.
incredible experience. People need to hear about this. Number one, because it's freaking hilarious, right? It's an
Yeah,
amazing, it's an
yeah.
entertaining story, right, from beginning to
Yep.
end. But it's a beautiful story about love and how sometimes love isn't enough, right? And there can be circumstances beyond your control that can take that away. And sometimes the universe, whatever you want to, God, whatever you want to put, puts
Mm.
someone in front of us that is not meant to be with us forever, that is going to be the greatest teacher of all for us, a master
Mhm.
teacher, right? That is going to take you through the dark night of the soul. And that's what she did.
Yeah.
She took me through. So my life has been this story. Go through epic trauma, come through it, share the new revelations that my soul has attained from doing that by writing, by speaking, by songwriting, writing soultry, which is a particular type of poetry we can get another time. Um,
Mm.
Being tremendously creative. But then when I've done that and I've created again, then it implodes again.
Yeah.
And then I come back into the world. I'll give you this example. There's a beautiful little story. There's a Chinese young man, right? He's working in a laundromat. He's walking through the laundromat with a basket of laundry. Suddenly he has Satori, which is instant awakening. He's fully
Mm-hmm.
enlightened. And then when it's over, he picks up the basket and keeps walking. Because it's a wave. It's
Mm-hmm.
not meant to be permanent. Just like you can wake up one morning just maybe a little bit grumpy. You can
Yeah.
wake up another morning and you feel amazing. It's a
Mm-hmm.
wave, right? And so we want to experience it all. So
Yes.
just because you've had an enlightened experience, and I have, but it's a wave. You're not going to stay there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you
Yeah.
come
We're
back
still
into the
human.
physical world. Yeah, you come back into the physical world. You go through all that stuff again. You
Yes.
rebuild, you rejuvenate, you regenerate, and then you have new learnings. You go to another level, and then after that's over, then you put that out into the world. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm in that point of where, and so when you rebuild and you rejuvenate, what you did before no longer makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
right? No longer makes sense. You're not passionate about that anymore. You've reached the end of your journey there.
Mm.
That doesn't come easy, and then you got to let go of that. And in that process of letting go, you're probably going to become, um, you're going to get distracted, and you think you got off the road, but you're just learning new things that are going to
Mm-hmm.
add even more tools to your shed, if you want to call it your own shed, your own toolkit, right? That then you can put out into the world and say, look, this is what I learned from that.
Yeah.
And so I can show you how not to do that, not because I've
Mm-hmm.
got all of it together, but because I experienced it, right? I know
Exactly.
how I got in it. I know how I got out of it. I would know what to do not to get it in again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if you're interested, I can help you with those things, right? If that's of
Mm.
importance to you. And if not, that's fine too, you know.
Yeah.
But I think the gift we can give each other is, first of all, remembering who we are. Second of all, sharing it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it doesn't have to be, you know this, right? You're not here
Absolutely. That's why
you're
we're
not here
here. That's why this
yeah,
podcast is
yeah.
here. Yeah.
What I like about the book is it's you can just read the book as entertainment and you'll have a good
Mm-hmm.
time. You can read the book and people always tell me, I see myself, I did that, or I saw that or whatever. So they're experiencing without anybody telling them, you should do this or you should do that. They're telling themselves, right? And they're
Mm-hmm.
learning from themselves in a non-confrontational or threatening way. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful.
Yeah, it
So
is.
yeah. And so these are things that I didn't think of when I first started writing the book,
Yeah.
right? That I've come to realize about it, right? And that it was an amazing gift for me in my life.
That's beautiful. Mm. Thank you. I totally understand that. And you know, one of the ways I look at that is that what else did why did I didn't just go through this for me. That's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. We
Yeah,
go through
exactly.
it to then share. And what
Mhm.
was it all for if I can't then pass on that lesson and share that wisdom in a way that lands for people where they can relate, where they can connect. And that's what you've done with the book, which is just a really beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to read it.
All right. Okay. I'll be interested to hear
Yes.
what you have to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to
Okay.
move into question 3, reflecting light, which means that you have a question for me.
Mm, yeah. Well, I would like you to share. I don't know if this is a question. Oh, yeah, it is a question. So, what is the most profound experience that you have had that has helps you to help other people?
Ooh. The most is a tricky one because they're diverse and they create,
Mhm,
they've
mhm.
had me arrive at who I am now, which I will always be grateful for.
I know. I didn't say it was going to be easy.
I know. I know. Um, the the most profound experience that has led me to who I am, that lights up my life, that has me constantly checking what's happening for me,
Mm.
would be walking with my sister to her death.
Mm. Wow. Now that's a
And
story.
yeah, and what I mean by that is she suffered a glioblastoma, which is a level 4, stage 4 brain cancer. I don't explain this very often. And she was sick for about 18 months. So she had brain surgeries and chemo and radiation, and she was my baby sister. So she was only 26 when she died.
Mm.
So nurturing her and walking with her in that journey was actually one of the most beautiful experiences that I've ever had.
Mm.
There was the most beautiful bond. And if it wasn't there already, it got a lot stronger.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I'm grateful for all of it.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
sit in victim mode with that in any way. There was so much that I learned, so much we received, so much love. And I knew as I walked with her in that moment, in those moments, that I was there to lead with love and to show people a different way in terms of death, in terms of grief, in terms of acceptance,
Mm.
and just being there for her and for others. And it was a very special part of my life. It was only 2.5, 2 and a bit years ago.
Wow.
So I'm still feeling all the feelings.
Yeah. That's
And
beautiful.
she's now the most incredible light in my life. I feel her, as she already was, but I feel her in every way. She's in my team when I need her, when I'm working with people.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is a
It
beautiful
taught me
thing.
a lot.
Yeah. So how are you going to share that, or how do you share that with others?
I have spoken about it often in podcast. We share the journey through a little bit, kind of, through social media. I haven't shared the story in its entirety yet.
Kind of would you consider putting it in a book?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've had a lot of people tell me because that's not the only thing that needs to go in a book.
I'm sure. I'm sure, right? I'm sure you got a library in there.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So thank
And
you for
that's what
that question.
oh, wow. I'm glad I asked it, and and it was a beautiful story that was there to be shared and remind you of how amazing it was too, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
could feel it, and I feel it. This is not, it's totally authentic, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I'm very empathic for whatever reason. I don't know. But
Yeah.
if someone's telling me a story, a tragic story, I'm going to cry. I'm just going to, I
Yeah.
can't even help it. I can't help it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can feel their energy, right? So anyway, yeah, I mean, I'd written books before. I'd written personal development books before, spiritual development books. But that got to the point where that wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. It wasn't, I didn't have that passion for it. So this I do. This is my new purpose, right? Is to put this out
Beautiful.
there and share these experiences. But what I've been able to do, which many people aren't, is take all of the 25 years of working as a spiritual counselor, of working in the personal development arena. I had all those tools and I needed to attach it to a new experience
Mm.
that was going to help people. And there are so many people in these toxic relationships, as there are so many people that are going through, trauma with losing the loved ones to cancer and all these other things that have no
Mm-hmm.
clue what you know, right? They
Mm-hmm.
have no clue how to deal with it because where do we get prepared for it?
Yeah, we don't.
We don't.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do, people get into these, we're calling it a toxic relationship, but it is a gift. But people are not going to people are not going to start out saying, "Yeah, I want to share this gift with you," right? So
Yeah.
when people get into these toxic relationships, they don't know how to get out. They don't know how they got in, right? They
Mm-hmm.
have no awareness of those things. So as you read the book, you'll notice that I'm aware of what's going on, but I'm prepared to take the consequences until I wasn't, until I
Yes.
wasn't.
Yeah.
And that's when I chose not to be in it anymore or ever go back to it anymore. which is part of it. It's not the whole thing though, because after I left this relationship, people used to say to me, "Well, do you think you're over it now?" And I used to go, "I don't know.
Mm,
The only way I'll ever know is if I'm presented with that opportunity again and how I react." Right?
mm-hmm. Agreed.
So I did, and I wasn't interested.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't
Yeah.
even like it wasn't even like, "Oh, I'm so tempted." It was just like, it's just not me
Yep.
anymore.
You
That
learned
person
what
that was
not to
there,
do.
yeah, and also the person that was there then, Jay is not here anymore.
Yes.
And I had
So
to
true.
grieve the death of that person
Mm-hmm.
and allow the rebirthing for this new person to come into life, right? Make
Mm,
decisions in a different way, that lives a different life, that is grateful for those experiences and grateful to her for them, but we're not meant to be together.
no.
It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay.
Yeah. It's a beautiful place to get to.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
You're so
Thank you for
welcome.
being here. Thank you for sharing. There's more we could talk on, but we've come to our
Yeah,
time for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
We've got all the beautiful links of how we can connect people with your book.
yeah. Just to,
And
just to remind you that
yeah,
I sent you a link with
yes,
the first three chapters of the book for free,
yes,
right?
yes.
You don't have to
Thank you for
buy the
sharing
book.
that.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
there's a free complimentary, same thing, a complimentary 30-minute session with me, so you can get a sense of me, and if you think that I could help you with whatever you got going on.
that's perfect. That's a beautiful gift, and thank you so much. I'm sure that there are people who are listening who are really intrigued by what you've shared with the lessons that could come through for them.
Yeah,
And I'm just, yeah, really honored to have you here and to be able to have this convo.
I was honored to be here. And the one last thing I want to share, and I hope
Yeah.
you do the same thing. We're creating a community where people can share their the shame, their guilt, or whatever in a safe environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And recognize they are not alone, right? There are
Yes.
thousands of people who can relate to them. Because when you're going through it, you don't want to tell anybody and you feel like you're the only one. And you're surely not.
Agreed. Agreed. Yes. Thank you for that. Yeah. And, that's also what I heard in your story was like through sharing your story, that's where the shame and the guilt and the things that are locked in there just dissipate. And it's yeah, community and connection and conversation and that's what the podcast is all about. So thank you
Yeah,
for
beautiful.
offering us
Beautiful.
that wisdom. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.